The heartbreaking 4 stages every empath survives in narcissistic abuse. Second is brutal. The path of an empath is anything but easy. It begins with innocence, a stage where their radiant energy and unshakable purity act like a beacon, drawing in narcissists like moths to a flame. From the earliest years to adulthood, that brilliance doesn't just shine, it provokes. It sparks jealousy, envy, and hostility at every turn. Narcissists and bullies don't see an opportunity for connection in that light. They see a mirror reflecting their emptiness. And that mirror terrifies them. Instead of being inspired, they plot to distort, suppress, or completely extinguish it. They attempt to reshape the empath into their own image, stripping away what makes them extraordinary. But here's what they never anticipate. The empath does not surrender. They refuse to trade integrity for comfort or kindness for control. They choose a higher path, a path aligned with truth and guided by something far greater than manipulation or cruelty. They hold their empathy like a sacred flame, even when the cost feels unbearable. The darkest valley of this journey? Stage 2, the phase where narcissist sadism reaches its peak. This is where they pull every string, exploit every vulnerability, and drain every ounce of emotional strength. But what waits beyond this torment is transformation. By the time the empath reaches the 4th stage, everything changes. They rise, not broken, not bitter, but awakened, unshakable, and beyond control. They become the very thing a narcissist fears most. Someone who sees through every facade and cannot be dominated. I'm Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional, and today, we're diving into the 4 life stages every empath abused by a narcissist must endure. Stay with me until the end, because stage 2, that one cuts the deepest. And what I'm about to share is something few people are willing to admit. This journey isn't about becoming softer, kinder, or endlessly forgiving. It's about surviving an environment designed to break you, twist you, and make you doubt whether your empathy is a blessing or a curse. If you fail to recognize these 4 stages, you risk more than losing relationships. You risk losing yourself. So let's begin with phase 1, the light that narcissists can't tolerate. From childhood, you carried something you didn't even recognize, a warmth that made others feel safe, a depth that made people feel seen in ways they'd never known before. Your intentions were pure. You didn't need masks or manipulation to connect. Good people sensed it immediately. They felt calm in your presence, trusted you instinctively. But not everyone reacted that way. Narcissists and bullies saw that same light and recoiled. Your very existence was a threat. Why? Because it illuminated everything they lacked. Without a word, your presence reflected their insecurities back to them, and that was unbearable. Think back. Maybe in school, a bully singled you out for no reason, or a family member constantly tore you down. Maybe you had a friend who supported you only as long as you stayed small, but turned cold or competitive the moment you began to shine. Their behavior wasn't random. It was rooted in discomfort, born from envy. Your light wasn't just a glow, it was a spotlight on their inadequacies. And this pattern, it didn't vanish as you grew older. In the workplace, your integrity unsettles those who rely on deception. In relationships, your emotional depth feels intoxicating at first. But to a narcissist, it quickly becomes unbearable because it reveals their hollow core. At this point, you might have believed you were unlucky in relationships. Maybe you thought you were attracting the wrong people. Or worse, that you were the problem. The truth? Your light is both your greatest gift and your greatest vulnerability. Until you learn how to guard it, it will keep drawing in those who cherish it and those who want to destroy it. Which brings us to phase 2, psychological starvation. This is the stage that breaks most empaths or forges them into something indestructible. It is the heart of the battle, the defining moment of the empath's evolution. Many empaths stumble into this stage because dysfunction feels strangely familiar. If your childhood was shaped by conditional love, where affection came with strings attached or was tangled in control, you may have unknowingly learned to confuse chaos with passion and possession with protection. You enter adulthood assuming that others operate with the same sincerity and purity you hold in your heart. So when someone steps into your life with an intense presence, flooding you with attention and promises, you interpret it as deep, genuine care rather than the calculated act it truly is. But here's where the reality shatters. Once a narcissist secures their position in your life, the mask slips. Their mission changes. What began as a campaign to earn your trust transforms into a relentless effort to dismantle your very essence. Your kindness becomes a living insult to them, a mirror reflecting the road they could have chosen but didn't. Your unwavering moral compass exposes their lack of integrity. And your empathy becomes unbearable because it forces them to confront their own hollowness. They can't articulate this, but they feel it like a constant sting. So, what do? They declare war on the very traits that define you. The attack starts subtly but grows vicious. They try to corrupt you, to drag you down to their level. They bait you into lying, into betraying your values, just so they can whisper to themselves, "See, you're no better than I am." They want proof that purity is an illusion and that goodness always breaks. They push you to numb your empathy because if you shut your heart, they no longer feel the sharp edge of their own emptiness. And when you refuse to surrender, they retaliate with cruelty. Sometimes it's the silent treatment, leaving you drowning in self-doubt and confusion. Other times it's public humiliation, cutting remarks delivered with surgical precision to pierce the most vulnerable parts of your soul. This is not just psychological abuse. It is a spiritual assault designed to make you abandon the core of who you are. Because if they can make you like them, they no longer have to face the monstrous truth of what they've become. For an empath, this stage is pure agony. It is punishment on a level most people will never comprehend. The temptation to close your heart just to make the pain stop can feel overwhelming, almost seductive. But somewhere deep inside, a small, stubborn voice whispers, "Do not give this up." That voice becomes your lifeline, the thread that keeps you from dissolving into the darkness that surrounds you. It is that whisper that carries you into the next phase. And then, without warning, the shift begins. Phase 3, the age of boundaries and silent revolutions. One day you wake up and the truth hits you with staggering clarity. Not in an explosion of rage, but in a quiet storm of realization. You see how you've twisted yourself into unnatural shapes just to keep others comfortable. How much of your precious life has been wasted explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you. And in that moment, you choose differently. The rules change. No becomes a sacred word, a full sentence that needs no justification. You stop chasing approval from those who feed on your exhaustion. You stop offering explanations to those committed to misunderstanding you. The compulsive need to please begins to wither, and in its place grows a radical hunger for authenticity. Superficial conversations feel like sand in your mouth. Small talk becomes intolerable because you crave substance, truth that nourishes, not drains. Spiritually, a new awareness blooms. You start to recognize the repeating patterns in your life and the lessons they carry. The obsession with controlling outcomes loosens its grip as trust in divine timing deepens. You begin listening to the whispers, the intuitive nudges that gently steer you away from chaos and toward peace. Your trust in people becomes selective, not out of bitterness but wisdom. The loyalty of a pet feels safer than the unpredictable affections of those who once kept you hostage. You find solace in the hush of nature, in the serenity of solitude, and in the rare relationships where acceptance doesn't come with conditions. By now, the narcissist's power is crumbling. The buttons they once slammed with glee are gone. The hooks they buried in you are broken. And the silence you carry now, it is not fear. It is the roaring strength of a soul that no longer needs to explain itself. And then comes the final transformation, Phase 4, the awakening. This is the moment that terrifies narcissists to their core. Because now, you are everything they hoped you'd never become. You have walked through every trap, every mask, every manipulation. And you didn't just survive, you evolved. You've reached the point where their patterns no longer catch you off guard. Every move they make is predictable because you've learned to see the game for what it is. The charm? It's nothing more than bait. The compliments? Hooks designed to reel you back in. That sudden burst of vulnerability they display? It's not sincerity, it's strategy. You recognize every tactic, and none of it works anymore. You've taken back your power in the most profound way possible, by becoming immune to their manipulation. Now, when they try to twist reality, you don't panic. You calmly bring the truth back into the light. When intimidation is their weapon, you meet it with a stillness so unwavering that it rattles them to their core. There's no more scrambling for approval, no more desperate attempts to prove your worth. You don't need validation from anyone because your very existence, unbroken and unbowed, is living proof that you have already won. Your compassion remains intact, but it's no longer blind. It is sharpened by discernment, a gift you've earned through fire. Do you have this gift? And if so, how has it guided you? Share in the comments, because this is what separates survivors from those who stay trapped. You still love deeply, but only in spaces where love is honored, not exploited. You still give generously, but only to those who would never turn that generosity into a weapon against you. Your energy is sacred, and you protect it fiercely because you finally understand its value. For the narcissist, this is the ultimate defeat. They cannot charm you, cannot drain you, cannot bend you into a version of yourself that serves their needs. You are living, breathing proof that their abuse failed. What they feared most has come true. You are fully awake, fully aware, and completely beyond their control. And nothing terrifies them more than being truly seen and fully known by someone who refuses to bow. If this is where you want to be, an awakened empath standing in strength, I can guide you. Thank you for listening. Until next time, as always, have a nice day, everyone.